Today's Monday, October 26th. I'm Colby Sherwin.
And I'm Ethan Morrison. Here's what's happening now.
Yesterday, the CDC reports that in Pennsylvania, there were about 14,000 new cases of COVID-19 and 9 new deaths, bringing the total number of cases in PA to be 99,730 deaths. In Allegheny County, there were 104 cases of COVID-19 and no new deaths. On Saturday, the U.S. hit its second highest day of COVID cases. According to Johns Hopkins University, there were 84,000 new COVID-19 cases. It was 39 shy of the record. Some of the hardest hit states were Florida, North Carolina, and Texas. Most, if not all, were due to not following social gathering guidelines. Quote, "We're entering what's going to be the steep slope of the curve, of the epidemic curve," said Dr. Scott Gottlieb, end quote.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved an antiviral drug called Veklury for use in adult and pediatric patients 12 years of age and older that weigh at least 88 pounds for COVID-19 patients that are hospitalized. Under the Federal Food and Drug Cosmetic Act, approval of the new drug product requires a substantial evidence of effectiveness. The cost of the drug is approximately $3,200 per treatment. After several of his top aides have tested positive for COVID-19, Vice President Mike Pence has said that he will not self-quarantine. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows declined to say how many individuals connected to the Vice President's office have tested positive. Today, Pence is expected to be on the Senate floor for the confirmation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. As Pence said on Saturday, quote, "He wouldn't miss it for the world," end quote. Pence is 61, which puts him at an elevated risk for severe illness for COVID-19 because of his age, but the CDC says that the greatest risk are those who are 85 years of age and older.
According to the Robert Morris COVID-19 dashboard, 1 student and 1 employee are in isolation, and 16 students and 5 employees are in quarantine. Anyone who feels sick is asked to stay home, and students and employees are strongly asked to use the Campus Clear app. RMU Student Life said they will start having random COVID tests, and an email it will be sent to the person. It will be an oral swab, which results are in 20 seconds. This is different from the original plan, which was the nose swab. This is because the results are shorter. The swab will be run by My Health at School. 100 students will be tested a week. For more information on how the test works and how the selections are made, there's an article on rmusanctuarymedia.com.
Thomas Gibson is a nationally renowned expert in student affairs and higher education leadership. He has now been named to the Fall 2020 Presidential Leadership Fellow at Robert Morris. This was just a week after Gibson was named the Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. It goes into effect on January 11, 2021. At RMU, Gibson will speak to students and faculty through the Center of Innovative Teaching. He will also serve as an advisor for the RMU Anti-Racism Task Force and to students of color. The Department of Sports Management and School of Business held the 17th Annual Sports Management Career Summit virtually earlier this month. There were 785 registration representatives, 145 universities, and colleges from 44 states, including schools from Canada, Mexico, Sweden, Germany, and Puerto Rico. The summit provided quality professional experience guidance to students in the sports management field. Panels of professionals featured 24 industries leaders, half being top executive leaders and half being mid to senior level managers.
The Massey Theater will be hosting a skill building regiment. These are entrepreneurship events across our region. IBM will be hosting it as well. All events will be in Massey and will be taking place. There will be working on business sense as well. It is open to any student. There will be an email sent out. RHA will be hosting their annual haunted trial at the business school. Everyone who wants to go is asked to sign up for a time and wear a mask. Social distancing will be followed. It will be different than years prior due to COVID-19. It will also have a much smaller group as well.
On November 21st, 2020, Robert Morris University in-person classes will fully go online the week leading up to Thanksgiving. Students were sent an email to fill out a form for their departure plans during and after the Thanksgiving week. The housing contract addendum states, quote, RMU has fully created a fall schedule that will allow students to go home at Thanksgiving and stay there for the rest of the semester as recommended by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, end quote. It should be noted that students who remain in on-campus residence halls during and after the Thanksgiving holiday break will be subject to COVID-19 testing, as noted in the announcement sent to students on October 21st. The form should be submitted no later than November 2nd, 2020. Deputy Director of Athletics and Chief Marketing Officer for Athletics Chelsea Blakely has been selected to attend Top Connect Ad, a leadership symposium for aspiring NCAA Division I athletic directors. Blakely joined the RMU staff in August of 2019 after spending 10 years as Senior Associate Athletic Director at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Blakely assisted in overseeing the opening of the UPMC Event Center, which featured 2 men's basketball sellouts in its first year. To fill us in on more RMU-related content, let's toss it over to Cameron Macariola to give us the latest on Colonial sports.
Cameron, what do you have for us?
Thanks, guys. RMU Athletics had a big announcement today as they released the schedule for our men's ice hockey team. The season will start with non-conference games on November 20th and 21st when the Colonials host Alabama Huntsville for a 2-game weekend. They then have to reload quickly as Bowling Green comes to town on the 24th. Then they start conference play, and to limit the risk of COVID-19, the Atlantic Hockey Conference divided their conference into 2 pods, East and West. The Colonials will be part of the West pod alongside Canisius, Mercyhurst, Niagara, and RIT. They will play 5 games against each opponent and a 2-game series against geographical outlier Air Force. Here's a closer look at their schedule with the dates of their opponents. As I said earlier, they start their season with 3 non-conference games, then at the end of November get into conference play as they take on Canisius, then the Colonials head out west to take on Air Force, then come back to take on Niagara, and then get another non-conference game against Bowling Green, then hop back into conference play versus RIT, and another home-and-home versus Niagara and Canisius. The next 3 or 4 games will be against Mercyhurst, and then the Colonials' last non-conference games as they host LIU. Then they finish off their season against each team and take on RIT and Mercyhurst twice. The Atlantic Hockey Tournament is set to start the weekend of March 5th and 7th. We're excited to see the guys back on the ice and hope for a great season during this tough time. That's all for me. Let's go back to the guys on the desk.
Thank you, Cameron. It was just 2 years ago when 3 congregations sharing a space at the Tree of Life Synagogue relocated after an anti-Semitic gunman killed 11 worshipers. On Tuesday, as they mourn those killed on October 27, 2018, they will also celebrate the resilience that has enabled them to persevere. The commemoration on Tuesday is an online ceremony that includes a performance by world-renowned cellist Yo-Yo Ma. A day of community services being organized for Sunday by the Pittsburgh branch of Repair, a Jewish nonprofit. Some activities include a blood drive, food distribution, and cleanups of Jewish cemeteries. A stolen car crashed into a home in Pittsburgh's East Allegheny neighborhood on Sunday. The crash happened on the 1400 block of Comprise Street around 2 p.m. Police found out the vehicle was stolen, and the driver and other people inside the car fled the scene. No one was injured, but the structure was determined to be condemned. The car was removed from the home and towed. Police are still investigating.
A man was shot in Homewood on Franklin Street, according to Pittsburgh police. He was shot twice and ran for help. He was able to call the police. When they came, he was alert and able to say what was going on. Anyone with information is asked to call the police. Two people were taken to an area hospital after they crashed into a Pittsburgh fire station. Paramedics, firefighters, and police responded to the scene of the crash in the 900 block of Steuben Street. The crash occurred at the Pittsburgh Bureau Fire Station 30. Paramedics helped pull the driver and the passenger from the car. The victims are in stable condition. The cause of the accident is still under investigation. Pittsburgh police officer arrested New Kensington police officer Joe Martino. On Saturday morning, Martino is charged with simple assault and unlawful restraint. According to the criminal complaint, Martino is accused of restraining and physically assaulting his girlfriend early Saturday morning near UPMC's Children's Hospital. New Kensington Police Officer Chief Bob Dinger said, quote, "The New Kensington Police Department is aware of the incident involving one of its officers that has resulted in the filing criminal complaint of charges," end quote. One man was killed in a shooting near Moonview Heights apartment in West Mifflin. The shooting victim was 30-year-old Nelson Lincoln. First responders found him dead at 2:30 on Saturday morning. Anyone with information is asked to call the police. 2 were taken to a local hospital after a shooting. First responders went to the south side intersection of East Carson Street and South 17th Street just before midnight. The 2 men were in stable but serious condition. More information is to come. Police are asking with anyone with information to reach out.
A missing 24-year-old has been found. Brittany Olmstead walked out of the woods near her Clearfield Township home Saturday night. She was not able to talk much as she was missing for more than 24 plus hours. Family, friends, and even strangers were looking for her, and they certainly feared the worst. Brittany's mom said that around 9 p.m. on Saturday night, she was disoriented and dehydrated when she walked out of the woods. Police have charged a subject in a home invasion that left his alleged compliance dead. They said that Tariq Pinnex fired his gun as he ran from the house on Penn Avenue in August. The invasion involved 2 intruders. Police said that when they were inside, they were confronted by 2 armed men who live in the home. Allegheny police said that through their investigation, they found the 2 armed men who live in the home did not return fire.
Ethan, I think it may have been a little rainy this morning and a little chilly out when we came to the studio.
Yes, it was. So let's toss it over to Nick Hederick to give us a full look at the weather. Nick, take it away.
Thanks, guys, very much. And as you can see, some very fitting weather for a Monday here. 55 with a low of 43, humidity at 86%, precipitation, as you guys mentioned, down to 50%. That's going to disperse a bit in the afternoon if we want to take a look at our hourly forecast here. 3 p.m. the rain is going to continue. But then by 6 o'clock, it's just going to be cloudy and a very dreary, kind of dull-looking day. Very fitting for a Monday. And as you can see, the temperatures are also going to be dropping all the way down to 50 by 9 p.m. And by the time you're resting your heads and getting ready for your Tuesday, it's going to be in the 40s. So some very fitting Monday weather, as I said, just declining temperatures all week. Borderline fall weather, getting a little scary. But I suppose at this point, we should just be thankful that we don't have snow. And, yeah, I'm going to send it back over now to Colby and Ethan.
Thank you, Nick. Coming up after the break, one Democratic senator is visiting Pittsburgh to endorse Joe Biden.
And a new member of the Supreme Court is set to be confirmed today. Stay tuned.
Doesn't see race. Love is love.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
Let's go.
you'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes.
Make a plan today.
Welcome back to RMU Live. Vermont Senator and former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders will be in Pittsburgh. He'll be joined with Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and State Representatives Sarah Intermarantino and Summer Lee from a drive-in rally for Democratic candidate Joe Biden. It will be at the Rivers Still Park at 3 p.m. With just about a week till the election and the COVID-19 cases beginning to spike, mail-in voting is bigger than ever before. And as of yesterday, 200 people that have sent in their ballots. Both parties still say how important it is this year.
The Pennsylvania Republican Party is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to speedily take up its case to block counties in the presidential battleground state from counting mailed-in ballots, received up to three weeks after the November 3rd election. Justices are divided 4-4, putting a hold on the extension. Republicans, including the Trump campaign, have opposed such an extension, arguing it violates federal law that sets Election Day as the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, and that such a decision belongs to the lawmakers and not the courts.
The Senate will move forward to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Senators met Sunday for a two-part weekend session. As Britt Conway reports, a vote mostly along party lines has sped up the final vote for Monday.
Setting the stage for confirmation.
The Senate is doing the right thing. We're moving this nomination forward. And colleagues, by tomorrow night, we'll have a new member of the United States Supreme Court.
In a rare weekend session to debate the nomination of President Trump's Supreme Court pick, Amy Coney Barrett, the Senate voted largely along party lines on Sunday to end debate and move forward.
On this vote, the yeas are 51, the nays are 48. The motion is agreed to.
It only took a simple majority to break the Democratic filibuster, clearing the path for Judge Barrett to become the next Associate Supreme Court Justice. For weeks, Democrats have called on Senate Republicans to postpone the confirmation until after the election.
Nearly every Republican in this chamber, led by the Majority Leader, 4 years ago refused to even consider the Supreme Court nomination of a Democratic president. My colleagues, there is no escaping this glaring hypocrisy.
Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says Barrett is a highly qualified candidate, and Democrats are only focused on politics.
They want to make apocalyptic predictions about policy.
The Senate will reconvene Monday to hold the final vote to confirm, just 8 days before the election. I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Barrett's confirmation will slate the court in the favor of Republicans.
8 days from the it is 8 days from the election. President Donald Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden are making their final pitches to American voters. Biden is pushing for more mask mandates, testing, and contact tracing. To curb the pandemic, President Trump is rallying supporters in person in Florida. CNN's Caitlin Collins reports on how the candidates are coming off the debate and back onto the campaign trail.
I am the least.
After clashing on the debate stage last night, President Trump and Joe Biden back on the campaign trail today with 11 days to go. Before heading to Central Florida to shore up support with seniors, President Trump touted his more restrained debate performance.
I think this was better. This is obviously a more popular way of doing it. And no, I think, I wanted to play by the rules. I felt very strongly about it.
Meanwhile, in Delaware, Joe Biden continued his criticism of the president's pandemic response.
We make up 20% of all the deaths worldwide. If this is a success, what's a failure look like?
Last night, the candidates clashed over Trump's handling of the pandemic right out of the gate, as Trump claimed that he took full responsibility, but then blamed China.
I take full responsibility. It's not my fault that it came here. It's China's fault. We're learning to live with it.
Number one, he says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it.
On health care, Trump and Biden offered two different visions for replacing the Affordable Care Act if it's overturned by the Supreme Court.
He's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan.
So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care.
Biden slammed Trump for his administration's zero-tolerance immigration policy that has resulted in lawyers being unable to find the parents of over 500 children who were separated at the border by the federal government.
It makes us a laughing stock and violates every notion of who we are as a nation.
Trump correctly noted that it was his predecessor who built the systems that immigrant children were housed in, but failed to acknowledge it was his administration's zero-tolerance policy that resulted in families being broken apart.
Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who built the cages?
The president hitting Biden after he said he would wind down federal subsidies for the oil industry.
I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement.
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because the oil industry pollutes significantly.
Vice President Mike Pence voted in his home state of Indiana today after President Trump announced he'll vote in person in Florida tomorrow morning, despite defending his plan to vote absentee for months.
I signed an absentee ballot. Absentee ballots are great. They work.
It's hard to tell if the debate and last-minute campaigning will make much of a difference. After all, more than 50 million voters have casted ballots already. When we come back, Cameron McCarriola is back in the Sports Center to give us a look at this past weekend in sports. Stay tuned for more right here on RMU Live.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and...
I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Stem is precise, no margin for error.
Dare to forget that. Dare to have fun with it. Get weird with it. Dare to send those old STEM theories flying past the neighbor's house into outer space. Dare to program something internet-breaking, record-breaking. Dare to blow their minds. Dare to learn the difference between sedimentary and metamorphic rock. Go find those rocks. Dare to keep daring. Dare to STEM. Check out She Can STEM to get started.
Welcome back to RMU Live. We're now going to toss it over to Cameron McCarriola to give us the latest on sports. Cameron, take it away.
Thank you, Ethan. On the gridiron this weekend, we had a crazy Week 7. The Steelers became the last remaining unbeaten as they defeated the previously 5-0 Titans. The Steelers went into halftime up 24-7, but the Titans rallied back to be just a field goal away from tying it up. But the Titans kicker, Steven Gostkowski, missed a 45-yard kick with 19 seconds remaining. The final score of that game was 27-24 Steelers. The Seahawks were also undefeated until Sunday night when the Cardinals took advantage of a late turnover in overtime and kicked a game-winning field goal to win 37-34. The Falcons invented a new way to lose yesterday as Todd Gurley fell into the end zone to put the Falcons up by 6 with a minute remaining. But then the Lions marched down the field and scored a touchdown as time expired and kicked an extra point to win 23-22. In college football, the Big Ten kicked off for the first time this season, and just like the Falcons, Penn State made the same mistake of scoring a touchdown with time left, which led to Indiana scoring a touchdown to force overtime. And after a controversial 2-point conversion, Indiana pulled off an upset over number 8 Penn State. Ohio State and Wisconsin also made their presence known with dominating performances in their debuts. And in the ACC, Pitt suffered another loss from this time number 3 team in the country, Notre Dame, by a score of 45-3. And finally, in the World Series, after a crazy walk-off Game 4 for the Rays, the Dodgers regrouped and beat the Rays by a score of 4-2 in Game 5. They are now 1 game away from the Commissioner's Trophy. The Rays rookie Randy Randy Arozarnia, has set a new MLB record for home runs in a single postseason and the most hits in the postseason. The Rays look to force Game 7 tomorrow night. Now back to the guys on the desk.
Thank you, Cameron. Light Up Night has officially been canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It would be the 60th year of Light Up Night, which marks the beginning of the holiday season in Pittsburgh every year. The People's Gas Holiday Market will return, however, with proper safety protocols implemented. And in addition to the festivities in 2020, a Santa Zoom Live from the North Pole powered by Xfinity, which will now replace the Santa House. Additional festivities will be announced in November. Giant Eagle will not be forced to change its mask policy because of a recent lawsuit. The policy violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. We're seeking an injunction. A judge said on Friday rejected the policy change by saying, quote, Giant Eagle gives customers alternatives like face shields or curbside delivery, end quote. The case is expected to continue. A murder hornet's nest has been found in Washington state. Due to poor weather, the nest was not destroyed. Plans have been made to get rid of the nest next week. After the break, Nick Hederick is back to give us in the weather studio to give us a look at what can be expected this week. Stay tuned here on RMU Live.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Jason, let's go see your room.
That's not right. How was it? Is it good?
Things could be stranger, but I don't know how. I'm going through changes now. Could spend a lifetime trying to figure it out. I'm going through changes, through all of the strangeness. I'm going through changes now.
Welcome back to RMU Live. Now let's toss it over to Nick Hederick to give us a full look at this week's weather.
Nick, what do you have for us?
And thank you once again, Ethan and Colby. Again, taking a quick look at today. Temperature is going to reach the 50s, drop down into the low 40s with a little precipitation along the way. We're going to take a look at the hourly again right here. 54 degrees by 3 p.m. Rain's going to continue until around the late afternoon. Into the later hours of the evening, we're going to drop into the 50s. And again, as you go to bed tonight, you're probably going to be in the low to mid 40s. And we'll take a look at tomorrow as well now. As we see, we're going to just reach 50 degrees tomorrow. Most of the day is going to be spent in the 40s, kind of in a twist of today, where today is going to be mostly spent in the 50s, then drop into the 40s. Tomorrow is going to peak at 50 degrees and then go back down into the 40s at night again. A little more precipitation, but not as much as today. And we'll take a look at the weekly forecast now. I'll get out of your way here. We're going to reach the mid to high 50s at certain parts of the week, drop back down the mid 50s. But that Friday, I think we should focus on here. As we can see, it's going to go down to the 48 with some rain. And rain expected as well on Thursday. A lot of very just gloomy and cloudy days here. I just don't think it's a very ideal week, not even a fall weather week, just very wet and gloomy. Not too much fun happening this week. If you have any outdoor plans, you might want to take them precautionally. And that's going to do it for me in the Weather Center. We're going to send it back over to Ethan and Colby at the desk. Guys?
Thank you for joining us on RMU Live. I'm Ethan Morrison.
And I'm Colby Sherwin. Stay safe, take care, and we'll see you next week.